your ground game podcast. We're here with
How
Birdman.
is your ground game?
Hopefully getting better.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully getting better.
We got Birdman from his office down in Vero Beach.
That's right. Remote.
We'll get the full view this time.
Palm trees, Christmas trees, shoe trees. We got it all.
We're going high tech this time.
Yes, I'm proud owner of a computer now. I have jumped into the 20th. I've jumped into the 20th century finally.
That's right. You skipped the century. You started with the 21st with the smartphone, and then you went back just to catch up.
Yes. Yeah.
How's the computer life treating you?
Computer life is good. I got a mouse. I got a special mouse pad.
There we go.
I got a little notebook. I've been researching editing software and outboard editing devices.
Okay.
Like shuttle wheels and all these different things to make it a little easier.
Right on.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll be in the arms race with your son Nati as far as editing.
And for content production.
Content. Yeah. I have to. He's the benchmark. I have to look to beat him. I have to look. How old is he? 11, 12?
He's 13.
13. I have to be the 13-year-old.
They're good at it.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I got it in me to take on a 13-year-old.
How's it going down with Wash and Fold?
Wash and Fold's doing good. We've had a bunch of more new people on the mats. We just started the Sunday open mat, which was, if I can quote a predecessor of mine, glorious.
How long do you guys do the open mat for?
11:30 till the last person leaves.
So just open time, however long people can go.
However long, however short. We do a 30-minute gymnastical warm-up. You got to buy a ticket to ride the bus, so if you don't do the warm-up, so it's not a purple belt friendly open mat.
Understood. Although Nikki, I must say, Nikki Five Stripes over here and at the 47 has been coming up with very creative and interesting warm-ups for the morning class. So
see, Nikki Five Stripes is beyond a purple belt.
He's beyond the purple belt. He's gone full circle.
Yes. And then he's not a wolf belt either, but he's not a purple belt. He's something different.
Yes.
I'm not going to say he's certainly not less than a purple belt.
It's a galaxy.
He's a purple belt plus.
It's like a galaxy belt.
Yes, galaxy belt.
When you guys do the open mat, what's the structure you guys use over there?
Like I said, we do the warm-up first, and then it's just like my 30-minute, which most schools will call a randori, after I have the hour class and 30 minutes after. And I tell people it's more like a study hall.
Okay.
And it's selected people can roll, and they can roll with certain stipulations. Other people I recommend drilling the techniques that we've worked at the school. No YouTube top team, no flying heel hooks that you saw some kid make a video in his mom's basement in Ohio. None of those. And what happened last Sunday was great because there were two white belts. One white belt came to me and said, I missed a day last week. I'd like to go over my notes. Have you just proofread them and tell me what's right, what's wrong? I said, okay, grab another guy, show me what you did. We'll touch it up and then you rewrite it again. So we wound up fixing armbar from guard for 2 or 3 people because I made him, no, do it over. No, do it over. No, you're missing this. You're missing that. So finally, once after we drilled it 30 or some times, they finally got all the elements that I was talking about. And then, so you just repped it 30 times. And now it's clear in your head what the steps are. And they wrote it out. And it was really, they got it.
Can I ask, as an instructor, when you're seeing a lower belt, because you've been doing this for a long time, and you have a certain standard of what you think it should look like, at what point do you step away from the lower belt and say, okay, I think that's about as much detail as they can handle right now, or they got this part of it, I'm okay. It's okay if they screw up that part or look sloppy, at least. Yeah.
I am way more forgiving now than I used to be.
Okay.
I used to want, it's your first day. You have to get this perfect by the end of the day. I'm not. I just want your best. If that's the best you can do today, then I appreciate it.
Okay.
And there's always next time. And I limit what I show now. Like I said, I showed the Baja Pass over 3 classes.
So only a handful of details each time. They're not getting the full, every last little note.
like I've always said, people race to get to the end and they miss. If you miss the beginning, how do you begin that process to get to the end if you can't do the beginning?
Right.
So I break it up into different sections. Even the armbar, I'll do that over 2 classes.
Okay.
Right? We're in no hurry. Look around. Are we in a hurry? We're not in a hurry. You know, we're not trying to get it in before it snows.
Are people retaining pretty well between classes?
Yes, and everybody's taking notes.
Yeah.
Because they're finding out that the people who are taking notes are doing better than them, and no one wants to fall behind.
Right.
So if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
It creates that environment. Yeah, that's what you want. You want it to be how people are excelling. You can also, I guess, set the standard the way you want. If people were running 5 miles after class, and that's the difference between your students, right? Then people are all going to be wasting their time running. Yeah. But if you set a standard,
I'll say to some people, listen, you can do it your way if you want to. I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah.
But don't complain to me when it doesn't work.
Right.
You know, if you do it my way and it doesn't work, yeah, you gotta beef. But if you do it your way, not my way, and it doesn't work for you, then don't come back to me.
That's on you.
That's on you. Yeah. So if you do it my way, then you can have a warranty claim when it doesn't work. But you know, don't expect to get it both ways.
Right.
But for everybody's doing it my way. They're doing it. They want to learn. They all want to learn.
That's good. On that note, we wanted to touch base this week. We were talking about it a little bit before about everybody's responsibility in the gym. We talked about it kind of like briefly, but it's an interesting topic because I've had some, as my school gets a little bit more senior and, you know, white belts become blue belts and blue belts become purple belts and so on and so forth, everybody's role in the gym kind of changes. And a lot of times it's not like there's a handbook that, you know.
No, there's a lot of unwritten rules.
There's a lot of unwritten rules. And it's interesting to me because when I came in training under you, there was already a lot of blue belts on the mat. There was a couple purple belts. There was 1 brown belt and there was a black belt, right? So we had Professor Craig he was a brown belt at the time, and we had Professor Mike as the black belt who was rolling with the guys. So you kind of already have a model of what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
At my gym, everybody's kind of growing together. We started from scratch. So the blue belts are looking around and they're like, what does it mean to be a blue belt? What does it mean to be a purple belt? And the purple belts are trying to figure it out. So it's kind of interesting to see how certain things are picked up on and certain things you got to massage to get people where they need to be. So just wanted to have a conversation about kind of what the expectation is not the right word, but if everybody's working together, what everybody's role is in the gym to make it run smoothly.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be order, right? There has to be. And I have a very unique situation for a school that's 8 months old, whereas I have typically 3 black belts on the mats with me at most times.
That's tremendous.
Which is kind of crazy if you think about it.
Yeah.
You know, right now I have no blue belts. I have a purple belt, bunch of white belts, and 3 black belts, and that's very unusual for a newer school, right?
That is very unusual. Yes.
So there is a little more towing the line than normal because some of these white belts are partnered with the black belts,
right?
At times, they
have to be on their best behavior.
They have to, be, more ears, less mouth,
right?
So that's good. So it's a little different vibe, I think, with the black belts out there. I'm very fortunate for that, but it's truly a different vibe that I'm not used to. And a lot of times, somebody needs a little help. I don't have to run over there because there's somebody there already kind of who knows exactly what to say and do.
Right.
So, which is nice. It's very fortunate.
It's different when it's colored belts on the mat because sometimes it's very helpful when colored belts step up to adjust.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't want the colored belts to adjust because, depends on the belt, depends on who they are.
I feel very comfortable with the upper belts I have. Very, very comfortable.
Right.
So it's, Jonathan, he'd say probably almost exactly what you or I would say.
Right.
To somebody.
He's covered classes when you weren't there.
Yeah, he did. And even if sometimes somebody will have something to say and he's like, oh yeah, but I was like, yeah, it's probably exactly how I would have answered it too. So it's fortunate to have like-minded people like you and I'm sure on the mats. We could answer each other's, like somebody could ask a question, either one of us would give a very similar answer.
I appreciate that you think I'd be able to give a similar answer to you, John.
Well, I don't think I'd be surprised by your answer.
I think that's true. Yes.
Yeah. I don't think you'd think, well, you need to just put more pressure on the head. I don't think that's going to come out of your mouth.
Although we were working mount escapes the other week, and I told everyone my favorite mount escape was to just let people take my back, because I just find it easier to defend the back.
Yeah.
And then when we got to back escapes, I just started telling people that I just like to let people mount because it's easier.
Hey, that's. But it's funny because that makes sense to me.
I know.
Because they're not, a lot of offensive people aren't ready for that transition.
Right.
And catching something between back and mount, or mount and back, is kind of tough.
And also, when people are transitioning from one position to another, that's normally when they screw up and they give you space to escape, right?
Yes.
Whatever. If you're worried about points, it's not great. But if you just don't want to get tapped, just let them move around. It's fine.
Yeah. Keep moving. Don't stop moving.
That's right. So, I've also noticed it's interesting because now we do have a broader scope of white belts. We have white belts that are blue belts now, but there's a big difference between a 1 or 2 stripe white belt and a 4 stripe white belt.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been interesting how sometimes the transition comes organically. Sometimes you got to give them a little nudge in the right direction. Sometimes you got to sit them down and talk to them. So yeah, maybe it's a good place to just verbalize some of our thoughts on where what people's role is in the room and what their responsibility is, and kind of maybe even what their privileges are in the room. Like purple belts, for instance. Maybe the purple belts are a good place to start. They skip the warm-ups.
Maybe in your school. My school, no one skips the warm-up. No one skips the warm-up.
We're not saying any names. We're not mentioning anybody.
No, we're not gonna say his name. We know what we're talking about.
Well, the king is a brown belt now.
Is he the king?
I think he was for a long time. He was the king.
Yeah,
his timing was impeccable.
But once he was on the mat, he worked harder than anybody.
Absolutely.
And didn't you say he said that if the warm-ups were gymnastica, he would do them?
Yes.
So, okay. Yeah. But the old warm-ups were gymnastica. But it was the motion, not the stationary.
Yes. Something about the laps doesn't speak to certain people, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I think the non-laps are more difficult than the laps.
I absolutely think they're more difficult.
Yeah, so.
I think when you do the laps, you have a visual idea of where start and stop is. You move down the mat, you know you're halfway there, you know you're almost done. When you're sitting, you don't know. It's just like, when is this over?
Yeah, maybe I'm pissed off someday, and we're going to do this for a while. You don't know.
But generally speaking, I think purple belt is the time when most schools turn the cheek and they say, okay, if they're tying their belt for an extra 10 minutes before they get on the mat, or
I let that slide with a lot of guys, just because, you know what, you've really put in a lot of work to get here, and you're not teaching classes, you're not doing this. You got to give them a little leeway. You got to give them something.
So we would say, purple belt is at the level. We don't recommend you do it. We don't want you to do it, but we'll look the other way.
If I'm going to let anybody slide on the warm-ups, it's going to be a purple belt.
It's going to be a purple belt.
Yeah. Brown belts, I don't know. I'm a little more. I think brown belt needs to show me something that they want to be a black belt.
Interesting.
Right? So purple belt, I'm going to let you slide a little bit because you're kind of in the middle and you've kind of gone over the hump. You need a little break. But brown belt, no, you got to work it. You gotta show me. Right? And you're not showing me right now, so that's why,
I'm not. I did.
I'm not seeing it, Damoon. I'm not seeing it.
I'm sorry. I was through purple belt. I didn't skip one warm up through most of brown belt, but as soon as I started teaching a full schedule, I said, "Nah, you guys take care of this."
It's tough.
It's tough. Yes, it's also tough to switch gears between teaching and being physically engaged and then getting ready to teach.
Yeah.
So it's like a different gears.
Yeah.
So what would you say in terms of, and purple belts are generally also the point where we start getting comfortable with people showing techniques.
We should be.
If there was a point where we were going to say, okay, at this point, we want to get comfortable with you showing a technique,
It would be at purple belt.
Not necessarily always teaching a class, but at least taking a white belt aside and saying, hey, this is how you do an arm bar.
Do the hip escape. This is how you do the arm bar. This is how you do a scissor sweep. You know, those fundamental things that we all should know. At purple belt, you need to explain the raw fundamentals. You know, maybe not even explaining guard passing yet, but just sweeps, arm bars, escapes, stuff like that. Yeah, start them with that, and then see what they do. If they're very good, then then you can go to the guard pass. But guard passing is they're still at a level where they might miss some details that are very necessary.
Interesting. Guard passing is very there's a lot going on,
and there's a way I think you need to explain it for people to retain it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, and pro belts, you'd be nervous, right? You're a little nervous explaining something. You just met this person, you don't know anything about them, and then you have to show them something, and maybe you weren't ready for it. You got asked out of the blue. If you forget something in a scissor sweep, we can fix that. It still might work. But with the guard passes, there's a lot going on.
Right, absolutely, and there's a lot that can go wrong with the guard pass.
So much that can go wrong, and I'd rather fix a bad habit in a scissor sweep than I would want to fix a bad habit in a pass.
Someone who's putting themselves in triangles constantly, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what do you think the role of a purple belt is in the room?
Well, I think it should be to set the example, but we've just disproven that, right? So they're setting the example post warm-up.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Right? That's the give and take, right? I'm gonna give you the responsibility of being we'll call it a coach in a way, not a professor, a coach. But you're a coach after the warm-up. Right? Okay. Because if I say you're a coach the whole class, well then you're not there. So you're not setting the example for the warm-ups.
So what are some ways and this doesn't just apply to purple belt. At purple belt, maybe it's more of an expectation, but even as a blue belt, you should really already be setting an example for the guys that are behind you. What are some ways that we set an example for the other guys in the room?
Keeping your mouth shut when the class instruction is going on, not asking the ridiculous questions, just the etiquette of rolling with people. Tying your belt. I mean, so many people I have Jonathan's like the belt czar. He watches. Okay, unacceptable. Retie it. This is how you do it. He shows him. He's just like, no. I don't care if you saw it on YouTube. No, that's not the right way. And he makes them retie it. But everybody in the class has their belts tied nice.
Okay. Just a little bit of order and etiquette.
Well, this was it. I asked why. He said, well, if you can't tie your belt right, how would we expect you to do anything else right? Right?
Yeah.
That's where the class starts.
Right.
Getting dressed. If you can't get dressed right or can't bother to take the initiative to dress properly, why would you take the initiative to do anything else right?
Come prepared, come presentable.
Yeah, that's it. No, honestly, I don't have to say anything. He goes right after them. No, that's not right. Let's do this over. And not mean. He explains to them how it works. Practice it.
How do you feel? I'll say purple belts. It starts at blue belt a little bit, but purple belts will do this when they're drilling with other higher belts. But there's a certain point when we're drilling a technique where we don't drill it the way it was shown. Not necessarily that we're not doing the technique that was shown, but let's say you show a sweep. So they drill the sweep the way they're supposed to do, and then generally they tack on a little spice at the end. They do their sweep, and then they go into step over arm bar or something like that. And
we're talking about purple belts?
Purple belts.
Okay.
Purple.
Yeah.
I think blue belts start sneaking that in.
See, I have no more faith in blue belts. I have no trust in blue belts. I know that everybody's going to get mad at this.
Blue belts. We'll get to blue belts. We'll get to
purple belts. Yeah, purple belts have to understand that there's only so much a lot of people when they first start teaching just want to throw everything they know out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's not good.
Well,
Because people are going to remember one or two techniques, and those techniques have to have 3 or 4 steps each.
So I'm not talking about when they're teaching a technique. I'm talking about just when they're drilling for themselves. A lot of times they'll drill the sweep and then they'll, in their own practice, they'll throw on like a little, mount or back take at the end of the sequence, right? They chain. As an instructor, how is that okay? Is that not okay? Do you want them?
Well, I mean, like I said, you do it your way. Don't complain to me when it doesn't work. If you get used to always putting that step over armbar when you have this and you miss all the other submissions you could have had easily,
right?
That's on you because that's the way you learned it.
Got it.
Not the way I taught it, but
right.
The way you learned it. So I like to keep things more open-ended, like forks in the road. I like to have a lot of forks in the road because so situational, we're not going to replicate a roll in a couple weeks.
Right.
Oh, there's a guy such a great roll against this guy. Next time I roll, I'm gonna do the same exact thing to him. Yeah, you're not. Because it's too situational. Right. We surf today's waves today. Why? Because today's waves aren't going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
So if you get locked in to always doing scissor sweep to mount to the CPR armbar, if that's the way you drill it, when you go live, that's what you're going to go. And if people know you're going to do it and they defend and you lose position, and you had maybe a topside triangle there, or you had some collar choke there you didn't take, that's not the fault of the scissor sweep and how it was taught. It was the fault of how you drill them together. And in the heat of things, you're just going to put together that sequence that you always drill.
Got it.
So I like to keep, when I drill, I keep things simple and separate.
Understood. Right.
Because I want those forks in the road ahead of me.
It's like a built-in pause, look around, see what's there.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say about purple belts with their roles in the room or how you feel?
Well, it's just, I think they need to, be a little more forgiving to some of the younger students, right? Not just fresh meat, not just beat up on them.
Okay.
That's always a good thing. And when you're going with a purple, get it on. Or a high blue belt, get it on. I'm okay with that. But don't, get beat up by another purple belt and go take it out on a white belt. That's, I don't.
How should purple belts be rolling with black belts?
Cautiously, right? When I mean that is, don't throw like everything in the kitchen sink at them just to desperately try to get a submission, because you could hurt yourself, you could hurt them unknowingly over something stupid, or you just get yourself into very deep water. But just play the same game you'd play with another purple or blue belt. Don't work above your abilities, where some people just try to throw everything at them thinking that it's going to do something. Just play your game. If you lose, you were supposed to lose, but if you're calm and you play your game the way you play your game, you'll do better than if you just go nuts and try to throw everything you have at them.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that's good advice for all roles.
Yeah. Like I told people, throw darts, not rocks.
What do you think at purple belt people should have a voice in the room?
No.
Meaning telling lower belts to adjust their behavior.
So certain things. Yeah. But they should be able to correct. That's etiquette,
Yes.
Hey, you shouldn't do that. Hey, that's why. But having a voice in the class, like answering, like somebody asks me a question and they answer it. Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay. I'm referring specifically. So, like on one hand, there's like a passive being a role model, just setting a good example. But do you think actively also, if they see,
like if you're a purple belt rolling with a white belt and they do something glaringly stupid, should you correct them? Absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah. Hey, this is not the way it's done. You should be look at your notes, rework this. If you don't know how to do it, certainly don't attempt it with a higher belt. You're just going to get yourself in trouble, right? Sometimes not doing something is better than doing something you don't know what it is.
Right. Yeah.
You got 2 plates on the table. One is a piece of chocolate cake. one has a cover over it. Which one are you going to take?
Chocolate cake.
Of course, every time.
Because you know it's there.
Yeah, there could be, I don't know, cow testicles under the other one. You don't know. But, right, that's what you do.
Right.
If all you have is a hammer, hit nails.
Right.
Don't try to use the hammer for a screwdriver or a wrench. Use it for that. So use what you know comfortably. Like, you know this stuff, just use that. And don't try any kind of crazy, over athletic and what you think jiu-jitsu is stuff. And when they do, yeah, purple belt should say, hey man, this is not going to work for you. You're going to hurt me or you're going to hurt yourself. You know, if you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. Either way, you're going to get hurt.
Okay.
The lower belt. You're either going to hurt yourself or you're going to hurt somebody who has the ability to hurt you. And yeah, they're going to come get you. You're on the list.
That's right. You're not giving them the consequences, but you're verbalizing, hey, this is what the consequences could be if you stay on this path. And
you're just not giving that person the respect, the purple belt, that respect they've earned. You're going to come at me like this, and then, okay, you want it that way, you're going to get it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about that in a minute when we come back around. I'm going to leave blue belts for then because I feel like blue belts is going to be the most.
That's when my head's going to explode.
I know. Moving on to brown and black belts. First of all, in terms of etiquette and being a role model in the room, in terms of privilege, is there a practical difference between brown and black belt? Do you think, or what is the role, or is it brown belt?
For me, and the brown belts and black belts that I've seen and worked with, I consider them same.
There's a technical difference and there's a progressive difference, but in terms of being a role model in the room and setting an example, same thing. Hopefully you're doing the warm-ups.
Yeah, brown belts, you should be a little more involved in the class, and setting the tone, setting the example.
That's what
I like to say.
We're more comfortable with brown and black belts, obviously teaching classes and.
Yes, definitely.
Where do you think a black belt, as a student, again, if they're a student in the class, where do you think a black belt should be stepping up where a purple belt wouldn't? In terms of, again, etiquette and setting the tone for the room and that kind of stuff.
Well, first of all, where they feel comfortable. I've been in classes where black belts who are students don't ever speak up about anything.
Okay.
Like at Renzo's, I never put my 2 cents in.
Got it.
Ever. Even when I'm working with somebody else, I don't ever really correct them unless they ask. But I don't, it's not my position there, right?
Okay.
And I don't want to step on anybody else's toes.
For sure.
Even if I'm a higher rank, I'm a 4th degree black belt and they're a new black belt, I'm not going to overtake any of their teaching. No. This is your job. This is your gig. I'm just here to learn. And, if my training partner may ask for help, I'll help them. But if somebody else, talk to a professor or whatever.
The instructor's right there. It's his room.
Yeah, that should be, for the most part, if you're on the student end of things, you should just be a student. If someone asks you, you more than have the capability to answer the question, but if, I can see where if the instructor is kind of unavailable because there's a lot of students, I can see other black belts helping that person out, that's fine. But, don't take over the class.
Right. It's probably more important even for a black belt to not speak up, just out of respect for whoever the instructor is, so there's no contention, right?
So there's no confusion of who is running the class.
Right.
Right. That's what leads. That's why I don't like stupid questions, it's not the actual question is stupid. It's the reason for that. A lot of, we're not going to mention any belts, ask questions because they think they're going to stump the professor and make themselves look good and the professor look bad.
Right.
Like they're going to think that they're going to jump. They're going to get promoted because they ask a question that someone can't answer.
Yeah.
That's a stupid question. You're asking a question you already know the answer to, and you're kind of hoping I don't know the answer to. Right? That's the only stupid question, is the one that's asked out of kind of almost a malicious way.
They call it a gotcha question.
Yeah.
Right? You just want to catch, you said not to put your hand there, but I thought when we put our hand there, we're in danger of an arm bar or something, right? Like whatever.
Yeah, it's a do nothing question.
Right.
Right? And it's just to make them look good and you look bad. And a lot of people, for some reason, they want to have the last word on the mats. they want to be the last person to speak before the thing starts. And it's like, no, that's not why you're here. You're
Right.
not here to have your voice heard. Right? That's not what you're doing. So, yeah. And I saw a ton of that at camp this year. Too much.
We have some of it on film.
I have a lot of it on film, and I just don't agree with it. And it's like, just shut up. We'll all get better, and we'll get through this easier if you just don't open your mouth. Right? Just train. Just train.
Just train.
Yeah.
Let's loop around to white belts.
White belts.
There's a lot to say about white belts. And I think white belts also, we can talk about what the role of a student in general is. But I feel like white belts, we have very low expectations of white belts. They also get no privilege.
Actually, I have very high expectations of white belts.
Do you?
Well, here's why.
Okay.
I've kind of changed my thinking being in Florida.
Okay.
It's the kinder, gentler Birdman in a way.
Okay.
2.0. I'm giving them less per class. Not less as far as the quality, but less as far as the amount of information.
Okay.
I'm giving you fine details of fundamentals in the class. Okay. And we're working them. So yeah, I do expect them to, when we come to the next class and we move on from that point, I do expect them to know, okay, we worked hard on this for a long time last class. Like, I didn't breeze through the guard pass in one class. I'm breaking it up over 3 different classes.
Right.
So you should, I'm expecting you to know a little, and you're taking notes. And I'm giving you time after class to drill. So I should expect you to know more.
Okay. But what about when it comes in terms of etiquette and knowing what it means to roll and that kind of stuff? Are you
Well, I got everybody on a leash.
Okay.
Right? I said, a white belt came today, can I roll with this person? I said, yes. You can roll from the guard. Here are your starts and stops. Here's what you need to accomplish. If you go outside, I said, you have this box right here to roll in. You go outside this box, you're going to hear from me. If you're going too wild, you're going to hear from me. If you bump into somebody else, you're done. Switch on your own. If you want to set up a clock, get your phone. But, you have the ability to roll live with stipulations, and rules without consequences are merely suggestions. So I'm not giving suggestions. I'm giving rules. If you violate the rules, you don't roll. Okay. I know you want to roll, but you have to adhere to my rules. And they do. So far, I have not had to cut anybody off from rolling.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like I have them it's like training a dog. You got to keep them on a short leash when they're puppies. These are puppies. I've had a bunch of puppies now. I kind of have more patience because of that. And I know to sort of, if I want my expectations to remain high, I have to make the task simpler.
Okay.
Okay. So okay, just this little section of the pass, just work on that. Don't worry about anything else. Okay. And they get it. And they're good. Then we move on to the next section. It's not as appealing to some people because everybody wants more.
And fast.
Right? You always want bigger, better, faster, more, right? That's what you want.
Sure.
But that's this kind of a curve, right?
Yeah.
Quick up, quick down. So I'm teaching fundamentals and then you'll see, oh, I saw you guys doing this in the gymnastic class. Exactly. Oh, this works in this other position. Precisely. That's the fundamental. That's how the hips work or whatever we're working on. And they start to see the bigger picture of things.
Okay.
Like in white belts, we have entire discussions about the difference between parallel and perpendicular until they understand it.
Just so they get the fundamental of how the positions work, where they need to be, where they need to get their hips.
And I could spend an entire class what the difference between laying flat on your back and being on your side is and how you're doing it wrong. Not you yourself, but
no, I understand. Yes.
The white belt, you think you're on your side, but you're not.
Right.
Right. And I have different little drills to expose that. Like, I see you're not on your side when you do that. Oh, okay.
So your expectation of the white belt is, I'm going to give you this little area and I want you to master that area. I'm not expecting you to be able to go all over the place and survive. But I want you to stay in this box, but you need to do this box really well.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the wax on, wax off, right?
Wax on, wax off.
Yeah. That's a simple task, but it means something much bigger.
Right. And there's going to be a high expectation of how well you can perform it.
Yes. So when I give a simple task, I want people to not treat it as a simple task, but take it seriously, and they are.
Now, question. So now, when a white belt rolls with purple, brown, black belt, what's your expectation of how they should roll?
Which person?
The white belt.
Cautiously. I'm being serious, right? You don't want to poke the bear.
Correct.
And that's a lesson you could take white belt through black belt. Don't poke the bear. Do what you know, where it applies. Don't try to pull some YouTube whatever out of your pocket and catch somebody on the sly. You know, I tell people, white people, just survive. That's my expectation of you. Just survive. Don't get hurt. Don't get put to sleep. You know, tap early, tap often.
Yeah.
You know, don't get hurt. Don't allow yourself to be hurt.
Survive to train another day.
Yes. Just try to understand where you are and what you need to do. Even if you can't do it, that's still a victory. If you know what to do, you just don't have the ability to do it, you've learned something. Right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't ever find where to do things, you know, the mental game of it, of while I'm in danger, or if I could just move, I could do this, and you're right, that's a huge victory. But if you never get to that point where you can sense danger or know what to do in that moment, it doesn't matter what you know. Right? You have to have that awareness of where you are and what's on the table, what you can do.
How do you feel, or how do you handle so again, white belts coming into the room, not fully aware of the etiquette or the hierarchy or how things work in a jiu-jitsu room. And for a lot of people, it can be very difficult, especially they're professional in the real world, and then they come into the jiu-jitsu mat. And yeah, on one hand, it's like, just because I put on a white belt, all of a sudden I'm nobody, but kind of, yeah. So a lot of times, students come in with a voice. Hey, can we have more mat time? Why don't we have more time to roll? Hey, I feel like we should do this drill, or we should, you know, and it's not coming from a bad place. It's coming from, they're a grown adult who has an opinion that's probably wrong. But how do you speak to that person? How do you tell that person kind of, that's not your place to say, you don't know what you're talking about?
I walk them outside. I point at the front window. I said, does it say Joe Schmo's school on the window? Your name? No. It says my name. And that's all I have to say. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Got it.
I don't have to explain to a white belt why I do what I do. If I do, he's in the wrong place. He or she. They're in the wrong place. If they think that they have a bigger say than me, then they're in the wrong school.
Got it.
I think on some people, that's not something you can fix.
But that means they're in the wrong school too.
What's that?
But that's also an indicator that they're in the wrong school from your end. Right?
So if they don't understand that from day one, then I shouldn't have to explain it to you, right? If you think that you have a bigger say than me in my school, then I don't know what to say. I didn't know how to answer that. I just pointed at the sign, said whose name is there. That's all I have to do, and that's as much time as I put into that. If they want an explanation of why,
Yes. My house, my rules. That's it.
Yeah. Google jiu-jitsu in your area. Just don't call me again.
So on that topic, let's go to the fun one.
I just had a thought like 4 minutes ago.
Yeah.
That I'm going to skip blue belt. I'm going to go 8-stripe white belts right to purple. What do you think?
It's we're gonna.
When you said Nikki 5 stripes, I'm like, hey, maybe I was right. Maybe we should just keep going.
All blue things are gonna be banned in Wash and Fold. No blueberries. I don't know.
I got blue mats, so it's gonna be kind of tough.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, no, it's just I'm thinking like because lately I've had nothing but kind of maybe tension or something with blue belts. It's like, come on, who are you? You guys are right, you know. Yeah, I don't get it, you know. These blue belts looking for sponsorship, super fights, instructionals. You're blue belts. It's like,
Where
if I call a plumber and a 9-year-old shows up with plastic tools, like, what do you think you're going to do? Right? He's got that play school set, with the little plastic hammer and the plastic wrench. Go. You're not going to fix my plumbing. Get out of here.
I'm afraid to even ask the questions I got for the blue belts.
Go ahead. Ask away. I'll give you honest answers. Any blue belt you get upset, stop by the gym.
So I feel, in my opinion, my perspective is white belts get a pass for a lot of things because they don't know better. And I don't mean like that white belts come in, you become an idiot just because you're a white belt. But I mean, we have a specific way in jiu-jitsu. We do things.
They don't know any better. You said it. They don't know any better.
They don't know yet. They don't know what's the appropriate way to roll. They don't know what's the appropriate way to ask a question or what's the appropriate way to apply pressure or roll with someone who's smaller than them, all these things. At blue belt, I feel like, and this is why we probably hate them, you don't get any privileges as a blue belt.
Nor should you.
I don't think one gets any privileges over a white belt. You guys are bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more expectation in terms of the etiquette. You should know better now. You should know to shut up when the instructor is talking. You should know not to goof off when you're drilling. You should know that when you're rolling with someone that's half your size, you need to let them work. You need to be a lot more technical, right?
Yeah.
You should know that if you try a trick, some kind of catch on an upper belt, that they're going to murder you.
Yeah. It's like, when is a puppy not a puppy anymore? When is a puppy a dog?
That's when?
When they're housebroken.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not the pee in the house anymore.
Yeah.
Blue belts are still peeing in the house. Right? Why wait to purple belt or further to be housebroken? Like when they're not a baby anymore, when they're potty trained after they're not in a diaper anymore. That's just like a puppy, right? Same thing. Goes from a baby to a toddler when they're housebroken, when they, won't poop their pants no more.
So blue belt is that funny age where they still got diapers, but they learn to talk.
Yeah, they're driving and wearing diapers.
They're driving and wearing diapers.
No, it's just they're not housebroken.
Yeah.
Right? They should have understood that already, but they're just not getting it. And now in the animal world, right? We talked about this pack mentality a while back.
Yeah.
If you're a pack of dogs and one dog is screwing up, do they sit down and have a talk about it?
No.
No, that dog bites the crap out of that dog. And they haze that dog and they go after him. That dog learns. So if you have a talk with a blue belt who's not housebroken yet and they're not responding, what do you think is left?
I got you.
Right.
You
got to put a little physical compliance in there.
That's fair.
My computer pops up with messages and stuff. This is like a whole new world. Am I in the Matrix now? Is this what this means?
This is how the Matrix starts. Yes.
I'm actually in the Matrix now.
You're in the Matrix. You're ones and zeros, John.
See, I don't know if this is actually me in the camera or like some kind of holographic AI image of me.
We could probably figure out how to do that.
I don't know.
You don't
do
even
I look like this, or is this some kind of crazy 4chan hack of me?
You don't even need to show up anymore. We'll just talk to a AI version of you.
I might be sleeping right now. Somebody else is up here.
All right. So blue belts get the beat down.
It's almost like you got to put them on a shorter leash than the white belts.
That's what I said. Blue belts get
it's almost like they get more of a being because you should know this by now. Like you got a 2-year-old dog that's peeing in the house. Like, what's wrong with you? How come you don't get this? Everybody else gets it, but you don't. You got a 7-year-old in a diaper still. It's like, come on, pick up the pace.
Do you think at blue belt there's also like it starts coming out the lack of appreciation for time? People think that a year or two is a long time to be doing something.
It's delusions of grandeur, right? They think they got the belt, right?
I'm on my way.
I'm there, right? They think that because that belt is around their waist, they're like bulletproof, or they're they've gained some kind of mystical strength with that blue. And yeah, they haven't, right? If anything, they're in more trouble because the pro belt's like, oh, blue belt, I can whoop on that guy for a little while.
All the
right?
stuff I wasn't going to do to you as a white belt, now
you're going to get it now, right? Because you come in, you got back in my day, when people got their blue belt, the guys would show up the next day with a blue gi in the blue belt, right?
Okay.
It was like waiting in their closet to get the blue belt.
Yeah.
Because very few white belts wore blue gis.
Only white gis.
Only white gis back in the day. Only white belts only wore white gis. And occasionally you'd have a white belt had a blue gi. And I don't know, some people, as a white belt, I didn't have a problem with it. And I couldn't have a problem with anything really as a white belt. But later on, I didn't have a problem with it either because what does it matter? But back then, some people had a problem with it. Fine. You don't have a problem with it, have a problem. But there were those guys who were waiting to get their blue belt and they showed up the next day, and you couldn't buy a blue gi on the internet then anyway. So you had that for like months in your closet waiting for the day. And, so you show up with the blue gi and the blue belt like you're, Royce Gracie at UFC 1 or something. It's like, come on. You were a white belt yesterday. Now you're...
People are going to knock you down a peg pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now you're preparing your Hall of Fame speech? Come on. Now the purple belts are just going to eat your lunch money, right? They're going to take it from you.
One last question about these guys. How should a white belt roll with a blue belt, and how should a blue belt roll with a white belt? I think that is probably the most...
You've just described the most stressful scenario for me as an instructor. That's just like, it's, saying you have a blind guy and a criminally insane guy, and one of them has to drive the car. Which one are you going to pick? It's like, I don't know. It's a coin toss, right? I don't know. It could go either way here.
Okay, that's fine. As long as it's not just me.
No, it's you want to know where the stress comes from? It comes from people's inability to act like adults. That's all it is. Kids don't do this, right? Orange belts and yellow belts don't have this unknown beef between each other where one's better than the other. I've seen it. Yellow belts and white belts, they coexist fine and don't get upset when one or the other wins. They don't care. But adults, it's like, a line in the sand. When you get your blue belt, it's like, the peasants, get away from me. Don't walk on my side of the mats. You're a white belt.
So let me make a more specific question. Right around end of white belt or blue belt is when in jiu-jitsu generally you start having, for the average person, seems like you start having your first opportunities to really control a role.
Yeah.
Granted, if you're much larger or if you're much more athletic, that comes sooner or comes later, but right around that time.
Somewhere around there.
And there's an excitement with that because now all the submissions that everyone's been hitting you with, you want to pay it forward to the next generation.
Guys below you, yeah.
But at the same time, that is the first opportunity where you have the responsibility to not beat up the guy behind you.
Yeah.
So
usually 9 times out of 10, they miss that opportunity to not beat up on the guy behind them.
So how does that transition occur where as a blue belt, you mature into, I don't have to win every role. I don't have to beat up every lower belt.
Well, it comes from them being good white belts. You have to put more attention to the white belts. And that comes with the fundamentals. So, even the guys coming in, the new people, if they have those fundamentals of staying safe, like we talked about, your job is to stay safe. So if we have those fundamentals with everybody, they're going to know, okay, this guy's coming at me. I know to make my frames or to do this or position my hips and hands here. We have that already. We're building that in to rolling with the guy who thinks he's,
just gonna.
Yeah, he's just suddenly going to have so much more knowledge because there's a different color belt on his waist. And you're the same guy you were yesterday. Right? There's no special class for behind the scenes that I get to go to this class on the other side of the wall no one knows about, and I learn all this stuff that,
You don't get the special parking space.
No. So in one special parking place in the lot.
That's for the instructor.
That's for the guy who owns the gym. That's the only special parking spot.
Very good. Anything else you want to touch on in terms of etiquette in the gym or people?
And I started a new thing.
Oh yeah,
you have to be a purple belt or higher to mop the mats.
I feel like there's a story behind this.
I just don't trust anybody else. If you don't know enough, I don't. That's the most important thing is the mats to all of us, right? As a community,
yes.
Keeping them clean.
Yes.
You trust that to a white belt or blue belt?
I don't trust anyone to mop.
I usually do it. I spray it, and Ann, who's a purple belt, comes behind me and mops.
Yes.
One of the white belts says, I should be doing that. I'm like, no, you shouldn't. I appreciate the offer, but, your job is to learn jiu-jitsu. The people who are higher than you, our job is to keep you safe. Part of keeping you safe is keeping the mats clean.
That's right. Anna and I are the only ones who mop the mats.
Right?
Occasionally, Dwayne, if he runs a fitness class, he's been pretty good.
Yeah. Well, if you make the mess, clean the mess up.
Yeah.
But as far as, some programs have the white belts as like a penance or a penalty, as a what you have to mop the mats. When people are given punishment duties, do they see it through very well?
No.
And it just creates a tension where there doesn't need to be one.
Totally.
Right?
It's like an extra late level of hazing that we don't need.
Yeah. Hey, I'm paying for class and you make me clean the gym?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I clean the gym. Your job, strictly focus on learning jiu-jitsu. Don't worry about cleanliness, and I'll take care of keeping the place clean and safe.
You keep yourself clean.
What's that?
You tell them to keep themselves clean.
Yeah.
You worry about your gi and you worry about your body.
Yeah, use the soap on both the body and the gi, and you come in clean, and I'll make sure the gym is always clean when you come in. Absolutely. That's the deal we have. But as far as hazing students to mop the mats, I kind of don't agree with that, because anybody you make do something always does a half-ass job.
Yeah, for sure.
So we want it clean. We don't want to punish people. We want it clean.
So as students, just come in on time, clean up your stuff from the locker room or whatever you brought in. Don't make a huge mess.
Yeah.
And clean yourself.
Yeah, just simple rules. Simple rules. I don't want to. There's no gauntlet of belt smacking, that frat boy stuff I see some schools doing. I don't agree with that. You get your belt and you move on. That's it. Fair. Right? Middle of class starts up again. That's the best way to do it. If you make it a big, grand promotion at the special ceremony, people start to think they're bigger than they really are.
There's a something.
Yeah. You crack them on the back and then, okay, back to class.
Shake their hands and then go on with your life.
That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
You've earned this, okay, but we're still training.
Yeah.
That's the mindset.
I will, yes, definitely. And it's good to remind people that just because you have a certain color belt around your waist, it doesn't give you superpowers. Yeah,
we don't need to have a, set up some kind of a prom on a Saturday to give you a belt.
No.
Right? No. We don't need streamers and music and a light show and then give you a belt. And that's going to give you some kind of a sense of
ego.
You're better than everybody else.
Yeah.
No.
And you don't get better at jiu-jitsu because you have a certain color around your waist. The second you stop doing jiu-jitsu, you're just as bad as everyone else. Doesn't matter what color is around your waist.
Nope. Yeah.
Any other points?
Are you gonna title this the Blue Belt Tirade episode?
No, I think we already have one.
Yeah.
Maybe someone will go through the podcast and make a compilation of all the Blue Belt tirades we have.
Yeah. Well, I just think as constructive criticism for blue belts is just kind of understand who you are and what you need to do to get better. And that's focusing on you. Don't worry about anybody else. Don't ask the ridiculous question that you already know the answer to. Don't think that you're going to impress anybody. You're not going to get a purple belt just because you stump somebody in a question or because you think you know more than it's not going to happen. Your abilities are going to get you there. And one of those abilities is keeping your mouth shut and training.
That's right.
So
I think during blue belts, probably the most important time is just put your head down, be maybe it's good if no one knows your name in the room.
Train hard.
And just train.
Fly under the radar.
That's right.
Right. And good white belts make good blue belts.
Right.
So maybe if you hold their blue belt back a little bit and they say, yeah, because you're acting like an idiot most of the time, and I'm not going to give you a blue belt till you stop acting like an idiot.
Potty train them before.
Yes. If you're a blue belt in my gym now, you're going to be housebroken. That's what I'm going to tell them. You want a blue belt, you got to be housebroken. And you are still pissing all over my mat. So you fix that and we'll talk.
Excellent. We're almost out of time. John, any last remarks?
Gee, I hope there's not a blue belt revolution at your school. I hope they don't storm up with torches and pitchforks.
I personally like blue belts. I like when people try to catch me because it gives me an opportunity to roll unrestricted. You know, when someone, hey, you want to roll? Let's roll. I don't got to be, I don't got to worry about your feelings anymore.
That is true.
I think people sometimes forget that. Whatever, we'll leave that for another time. But maybe sometimes people think about upper belts that the gap is less than it actually is because we like to keep it close to keep things fun, right?
Yeah.
But once in a while, I think.
Yeah, I mean, as a lower belt, you should know when someone's gifting you.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't assume, I'm going to pass this guy's guard.
Yes.
Maybe he's letting you pass.
And that goes on for longer than we think. I think even
it never ends.
It never ends.
Never ends.
All right.
But my final words are: I'm going to admit blue belts are people too. All right,
blue belts are people too.
They're humans. They're people.
All right.
And but yeah, 8 stripe white belts, right to purple belt. That's it.
That's 2025 in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, John.
8 stripe white belts, purple belts.
On that note, we're out of time. Adios. We'll catch you guys next time. Keep training.
That's right.
Take it easy.
See ya.